two, everybody. Okay, we're on take two live on Brenda Cooper style. And who is going to be joining us today will be Charles Shaughnessy. And Charlie, if you're on, request to join me, please. And we're going to have a chat with Mr. Sheffield, hopefully. So, hello, I'm waving at everybody. Hi, everybody. Except, it's funny when some... Okay, invite.
There we are.
Charlie!
A couple of technophobes.
Okay, Charlie, we're baby boomers.
Baby boomers, exactly.
We're baby boomers, and when we spoke the other day,
we were so confident about it. We were so like, oh, it's going to be no problem. I can do this.
Right, but the funny thing is about you and I were talking about, we come from school where you don't show the behind the scenes of everything that's falling apart and going wrong and all the chaos. You just present everything perfectly.
Right.
So in this world that we live in now, that's why on Saturday you and I were testing it live, and like 100+ people came on, and we're just saying, listen, everybody, we're just testing. We're just trying to work it out.
But it's always fun. It's fun to see behind the scenes chaos. It's like a duck, you know, that looks so sweet on the on the water, but underneath its legs are doing this. But anyway, here we are. We figured it.
Right, but I have to say, Charlie, it's very hard for me because you've worked with me. I'm a perfectionist.
Right.
So to let it all hang out actually in a professional mode is a challenge for me, but I'm getting better with it.
I know.
So so I was asking you, you know, do I call you Baron or do I call you a Lord? Because I didn't realize.
I know.
What do I do?
You just bob a little bit, and then
Charlie.
a little kind of break the knee. There we go. Very good.
Hello, Charlie.
That's very good. And now I can say, oh, please, Brenda, don't be silly. Just call me Charlie.
Oh, my God. So funny. So funny. So, Charlie, first of all, thank you very much for joining me and for us to have this chat. I'm always love talking to you. When I left the other day, when we had our quick little pre-production meeting, I was so uplifted. And you're just such an uplifting person.
Well, thank you. I try to be. It's a challenge sometimes, but
I know, but you do a very good job. You do a very good job. And then I was thinking, and anyone who has questions, please. And I have Alison with me, so she's going to look at our questions that were being asked. It just occurred to me this morning that we didn't meet on the Nanny.
I know.
Remember that? Where
do.
did we meet?
We met at, I think it was an AT&T commercial.
Yes.
It was like, and it was a few years earlier, and we had a blast. I just remember we were so naughty. We would like send the whole thing up. We went into a corner and just laughed and sent the whole thing up all day. And then we parted, and then it was years later on the Nanny, and I think you went, you know, you look familiar. And I went, you look familiar. And we figured it out. Right.
And I remember, I just remember the takeaway from that commercial. I don't remember anything about it except that it was at Raleigh Studios. It was when I was in my, you know, acting career and my modeling career. And all I remember is laughing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We just had a blast.
Yes.
We were outrageously naughty. I think we got ticked off the whole time. People were saying, would you please pay attention?
Us English people. Anyway, so again, I was thinking about it, Charlie, and like, the character, we're going to talk about wardrobe, but the character that you played on the Nanny in some ways parallels how you grew up, because
it does.
So will you share that with us, because I've forgotten who your dad was?
Yeah, well, my dad was a writer, so he wasn't really a producer. He was the sort of creative sort of mind behind Upstairs Downstairs, apart from anything else, but he was always writing plays and TV shows, but it meant that it was a very show busy world. At times, you know, there would be different kinds of friends. They had sort of social friends from the neighborhood and from that they'd grown up with, or my parents knew outside of showbiz. And then there were the sort of crazy bohemian actor, director, writers who every year there would be one showbiz party that my brother David and I would be allowed to stay up for. Right. And take the coats and then serve a few drinks. And then, of course, we were meant to go up to bed. But by that time, everyone was so sloshed, they didn't care. So we just stayed up all night. But it was that kind of atmosphere. It was a very heady kind of bohemian, exciting sort of atmosphere to grow up in. You know, Maxwell was a bit more uptight than my dad. But he did remind me, you know, I did base Maxwell to a large extent on my dad, because my dad was someone who had this very noisy family. My brother and me, just the two boys, and my mum, and we were very loud, and there was a lot of noise and energy, and sometimes he would just stand in the middle of the room looking confused. And there was a line in the Nanny where Maxwell, who is looking at some video of him as Maxwell in the Sheffield household, and he says, I seem to be just standing there and I look like a stunned beast. And I went, that's my dad.
Oh my gosh. And where did you grow up, Charlie?
In London, in Chelsea, in southwest London. But I went away to boarding school. You know, in England, if you were a boy, you were sent away to boarding school at the age of 8.
Wow.
So by the age of 8, I was spending 3/4 of the year away at school, and then would be home for the holidays. But actually, I really enjoyed that. I loved.
Where was school, Charlie? Where was
school? School was in Oxford. First of all, in Oxford, from the age of 8 to 12, right. And then I went to Eton College in Windsor. And then I went to Cambridge University. I know, I'm sort of classic Eton, Cambridge.
Very nice.
Private. Well, you see, I'm Lord Shaughnessy, aren't I? That's why I'm Lord Shaughnessy.
And I was educated in a convent, so I went to a girls' school that was a very, very, very strict girls' school.
Where was it?
One in Rickmansworth, which was near Watford.
Well, I know Rickmansworth.
Rickmansworth. And then another, that was the convent of St. Joan of Arc. And then I went to the convent of the Holy Ghost, which was in East Anglia, and I absolutely hated it. And then at the age of 14, I was thrown into a mixed school that was such a shock for me that I couldn't adjust. And I remember the teachers saying, we do wish that Brenda would be more friendly with the boys. And I was in shock. You know, I have an identical twin.
Right.
So she just melded into the whole thing just fine, and it was much harder. But the English education system is very, you know, it's very different.
It's very, I mean, and you either thrive or you sink or swim, and it's very much about a personality. I am so grateful, but for whatever reason, genetically, my personality suited it to an extent. And I loved having that universe of friends and school where I was Charlie Shaughnessy person. And then at home, I was Charlie Shaughnessy, the son or the brother. And I loved having those two sort of lives going on. It's like one of them was my own universe and one of them was my position in the family. So it was like kind of imposed. So I always enjoyed it. I didn't mind my childhood at all.
Right. No, nor did I, even though it was incredibly strict, I mean, and incredibly English. And people think that I became a naughty little schoolgirl, but I never was. I was never a naughty little convent schoolgirl.
I was a terrible goody-goody. I was
same here.
Goody-goody.
It's a complete goody-goody.
What would you like me to do now, sir?
Exactly.
I was a big goody-goody.
I remember one day in the playground, this girl that I never liked her pissed me off. And apparently I said something, any friend of Sally so-and-so is no friend of mine. And I was about 8. And I was off to the headmistress's, Mother Teresa's office. And I was just, you know, scolding.
Right. That was it. Beaten out of you with a ruler on your hand. I mean, I did do one. At Eton, I finally plucked up courage because my friends were every Thursday afternoon. We had houses that you lived in. There were like 25 seats. It was like a kind of dormitory, and so and you had to be in it by 8 o'clock at night. and there were playing fields, you know, up, you know, all over the place. It was a huge campus, Eton, and there was one playing field that had a pavilion, cricket pavilion, where the senior boys, when they played cricket, would be rewarded after their cricket game with a bottle of beer.
Right.
So there was beer in this pavilion. And my two friends and I, they completely badgered me into it. I was like, no, we shouldn't do it. They said, no, we're going to go and get some beer. So one evening we snuck out, went up to Agar's plough in heavy overcoats. It was midsummer, so it was boiling. We had these heavy overcoats, stuffing beer bottles into our pockets and then clanking all the way back. And we got stopped by someone, a prefect. And I thought, that's it, we're done. But we managed to get back to the house. And then the friend said, you know, that guy that stopped us, he told our housemaster, and we're all in for it. He's gonna have us after prayers, after evening meal. We're gonna have to go to his study, and we may get suspended or, you know, sent away. Right. So I was absolutely panic-stricken, completely panicked. It never happened. They were just teasing me. No one, we got away with it. We stuck the beer on that. But I was absolutely convinced my life was over. I was composing a letter to my parents saying, I know I have disappointed you. I've ruined your life. I don't know what to do.
Oh my God. Oh my God, Charlie.
That's the only time I broke the rules.
We're such goody little two shoes. So let me ask you this question. Will you tell us how you got the job on The Nanny as Mr. Sheffield?
Yeah, well, there's, you know, like all, you know, things that there are a number of great stories. So there are a number of versions of how I got this job. Can we get the real one? The real one, as far as I know, and this is coming from the executive producers, from Rob and Prue, was that I had that previous year done an episode of Murphy Brown for CBS. That was quite a big episode. It was when Murphy gets invited to the Clinton inaugural ball, and she takes me as a date. So it was a very high profile episode of a very successful show. And then a couple of weeks after that, I did a Mad About You, which was TriStar Studios. Right. So when The Nanny came up, it was a TriStar Studios production and a CBS network production. And at that point, when they, you know, Sagansky and the CBS guys got the script, they said, Sagansky said, Maxwell Sheffield is the guy that did the Murphy Brown. And John Feldheimer at TriStar said, yeah, that sounds good to me. He did our Mad About You. I think you're right. He would be great for it. Wow. So I had like people that were supporting me. And at that time, when it all came around, I hadn't done very much except for those episodes. But my team, my agent, my manager, said, we're not going to let you audition for this. We think we can get an offer. Wow. And I said, really? I mean, I've done nothing. I've just done a soap opera for 8 years, and I've done these 2 episodes, but really? And they said, yes, trust us. We're hearing that we could get an offer, so we're gonna play hard to get. So I thought, fine. So then it went down the line, and I was the guy they were talking about. And then it came down to, well, they won't audition you, but they would like to meet you. Now, I like to audition. I like people to know what they're getting. I don't like showing up on set for the first day and people going, oh my God, what have we done? You know? So I said, great, let's meet with Fran and Rob and Prue and Peter, and we'll just chat. But if there's an opportunity to read a scene or two, let's do it. We can pretend it's not an audition. We can say it's a meeting, but let's sort of basically do a reading so that everyone knows what they're getting. So I know that there's chemistry with Fran, and Fran knows there's chemistry with me. So we did. So we met just off Park La Brea, and it was raining, and I was wearing my little yellow rubber rain boots, which I did because I hate getting my socks wet. So I had little yellow rain boots. And I thought at the same time, actually, it's very Maxwell. It's the sort of thing that he would do. He would be very dressed up and then have little yellow rain boots. So I went in that, and apparently Fran took one look and thought that was just the most ridiculous thing she'd ever seen. But the reading went great, and it was quite clear that we worked together. And that was that. So I then left, and it sort of just turned. Then we both did a thing for the network and a thing for the studio to sort of show them what they were going to get. And off we went with the pilot.
Wow.
So that was my story. I think Fran thinks I actually auditioned with everyone else, and in effect I did, but in the way that Hollywood speak happens, no,
Right.
I didn't. I took a meeting. So
Right. So then let me ask you this question. So what was it like meeting the other characters? What was it like the first time? And I've never asked you these questions before.
No, it was
like,
well,
Lauren
first of all, it was quite obvious it was a fantastic pilot script.
Right.
You know, I'd read quite a few pilots and seen pilots and been in pilots, and they're not easy because you've got to tell the whole story in 23 minutes. And then for the next 6 years, you basically tell that story over and over again. So you've got to introduce all the elements, all the relevant characters, all the storyline, the relationships in 23 minutes. And the pilot was so good at doing that. So when we all met around the table for a read through, it was very exciting. First of all, to see everyone and meet the cast and know we were going to be working together. And it became very quickly obvious during the read through that everyone was fantastically well cast and was going to be terrific. So that was exciting. And we did the pilot. And I think we taped the first episode, and then the earthquake happened. The October 2004 earthquake.
I forgot about that.
Everything went on hold, and then we didn't know whether we were going to get picked up, and they did a couple of episodes, and then it went on hold again, and then it was picked up, and it sort of staggered through that first season until the summer. And then in the summer they reran it on Monday nights, and we found the audience in the reruns in the summer, and we came back in the second season with an audience that was looking forward to seeing it, and then it built.
Well, I totally had forgotten about that earthquake.
Yeah.
Do you remember Jill Sheridan?
Yeah.
She was my wardrobe supervisor that handled all the guys for me, and the earthquake did her in, and she left. But
yeah, it reshuffled a lot of stuff. I know it was sort of shocking, and I remember we were all like, "What happens now?" You know, I thought maybe the studio was gone. You know, no one knew. But,
I know it was amazing. It's funny because Jill is actually the person I'm what's the word? In gratitude to her, because it was because of her that I won an Emmy. Right. Because
it would have been her.
Well, no, because production only entered cast for Emmys, and Jill walked in one day and said, "I've just nominated you to be nominated for an Emmy," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I'm in the ATAS, so I can nominate people," and I'm like, "Okay," and then I just got on with doing the show, and then I got nominated, and then I won an Emmy.
So if she hadn't done it, you wouldn't have been nominated.
No.
Oh, that's crazy.
Because production, because as I always joke about it, wardrobe is just above craft service. The two most important things, what you wear and what you eat. Okay. And if she hadn't put me in, I would never have won an Emmy, and I have immense gratitude.
I know, it's shocking. These little moments, that sort of make such a difference.
Right. So let's talk about your wardrobe.
My beautiful, I've never been a clothes horse, as you discovered very quickly. So this was a whole new world to actually look nice. My mother, every time, I would see my mum, they'd come out here, or I would see them going back, anytime I saw her, she would always make some comment about, "Darling, you look like you've just crawled out from under a bridge." "Oh, darling, can't you, have you changed that shirt in the last 2 months?" So I was never known for my style. And then suddenly I'm playing this fashionista, this extremely fashionable, very smart man. And I loved it. Yeah. I loved it. I loved looking like that. I loved those suits and the style and everything fitting so perfectly, and the turtlenecks and because it informs the character. It's like, it's so, when you start a show like that, it takes time to figure out who Maxwell was. And the script tended to make him a bit of a buffoon. He was the butt of Fran's jokes. He couldn't understand what was going on. And I had two questions for the producers. I said, one, how can he be a successful producer and have people like Marvin Hamlish and people like that come to his house? And two, how can he look so good if he's a complete buffoon? You know, he obviously has class, he has style, he has a way of presenting himself to the world. He has to be a little smarter than you're writing him. And
Right.
so that the way he dressed was very informative on how to play him.
Right.
That, you know, he was an elegant man of the world.
Right.
Not a buffoon.
And I think the fact that we're both English, you know, helps with clearly dressing your character. And like, there's nothing more classic than a navy blazer with gold
Right.
buttons, you know. So I mean, and to always put you in those vests.
Right.
It was such a delight.
Right.
And
But even the sort of, even the very dressed down, so to speak, there was a wonderful brown suede jacket I had occasionally, you know, with a turtleneck sweater for the sort of at-home relaxing evenings. You know, he
Right.
always looked sharp, even when he was just kicking back.
I think that jacket was my own jacket. It was a Hugo Boss jacket.
Oh, really?
That
It's
I
beautiful.
stupidly gave to somebody, and I wish I still had it. But a lot of Cece's clothes were my own wardrobe. They were all those 40s jackets. But to dignify you with the vests,
Right.
was just to, you know, express your character and to help you inhabit your character.
Right. Exactly.
And
know who
Renee,
he was. And I
Right.
think we predated that Simon, what's his name, the Australian actor who did it in what was the show he did, and he was always in a vest. Do you know what I mean? Who I mean? Simon.
Don't know. I'm going to try and find a question. Someone's just asked, can you please, Brenda, can you please ask Charles to answer my questions?
Oh dear,
So
am I meant to be looking at
No,
questions?
no, the thing is we can't have a conversation, and
Okay.
Alison's sitting here and she's going to take a look at it. But you know,
Okay, keep talking.
we're going to keep talking, and whoever you are, I'm sorry that I didn't see your question because it's difficult to look
Yeah,
at.
it's very hard, you know.
Yes, right.
There's a lot of people.
This is a really good question.
Okay, so this is the question
No,
for you.
it's not, I have to find her question. You're going to answer this one
Right.
Oh,
first.
Simon
Do you-
Baker. Someone just said Simon Baker. That's who it was. He
Okay.
wore vests.
Hold on, let's go. This is the question, Charlie.
This is a good question for both of you. That's why you can answer it.
Mhm.
Do you guys have a favorite outfit for Maxwell?
No, I don't.
No, not really. I mean, they were all, I mean, so many of them were great. I mean, they were always for the occasion. You know, there was the very smart when he's hosting a party at the house for all the, you know, producers and money people. He would be in an extremely smart canali,
Right.
double-breasted, you know, which was great.
Right.
But then, as I say, I love the dressed down brown suede jacket over a turtleneck, was a great look too.
Which is
So,
a very like directory look. You know,
yeah,
there's a-
exactly.
there's a
Very
look-
showbiz, yeah.
Yeah,
But
there's a very-
successful and expensive.
Right. So there's a definite look to a successful director, be it a film director or a Broadway show director. So I had to dial that in. And every week, you know, you do a breakdown of the script and we see how many changes that Charlie has to have, and there would always be a suit in there, so it always had to be a suit with a beautiful shirt and a beautiful tie, and then we had to do that casual look that had to be equally elegant. And I do have to say a huge thank you of having a crew, that because you cannot do this alone. Yes, I'm the visionary, I created the look of the show, I'm acknowledged as the costume designer who created it, but without a team, the right team, and a team you can trust,
Yeah.
you're dead in the water. And I have to say, first of all, it was Jill Sheridan who left because she got so freaked out after the earthquake, and then Terry Gordon came on board, and I just
Darling
loved her.
Terry, I adore Terry. She's
she was-
just the
I
best.
mean, just the best. She was
Yeah.
always positive, always up. She had my back.
Right.
And so what I would do to let the audience know is I very much focused hands-on with all the women. And Terry and I would talk after the production meeting on a Monday morning about what's needed. And then Terry would go out and buy the clothes, and then she would do all the fittings, and I'd come in and we'd discuss it. And so it was a team effort, and what an incredible woman. And do you know that she's running for to be the president of the Costume Designers Guild?
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Yes.
For her.
So
Well,
it's
she's
like,
an absolute darling. I know. I adored Terry. She was wonderful at her job and so on the ball, and wouldn't get flustered by anything, and just a lovely person too. She was just such a delight. Getting in on any day, whether it was rehearsal or tape day. It's like getting your first cup of coffee in the day. Your first interaction with Terry set the day up very well.
Oh, she was always. It's so wonderful having people that are great team members and have a positive.
Uh-oh.
Going to get stabbed in the back, and it's just. Have we just frozen? Have we just frozen? Yeah.
We froze a bit.
So she was really incredible. So we have a question. Yes.
It's not related to either of. It's only for him.
It's only for you. I can
because
that.
No, well, it has nothing to do with the nanny. It has nothing to do with any of this. But this is
Is this the question that the lady was asking? Okay, so
hi, Charles Shaughnessy. I have a question. What was it like playing a goldfish on the Disney show Stanley? I think it's super cool that Dennis the goldfish broke the fourth wall in every episode.
So
I loved it. Dennis was one of my. This is the great thing in the life of an actor is you do all kinds of different things and patch a career together. And one of the sort of high points was this Disney, Playhouse Disney character of a goldfish. And I remember the audition, and the notes just said he's a goldfish of indeterminate age or gender, is wise beyond his species.
Don't worry about the wardrobe.
So, yeah, but you have to then, as a voice actor, you've got to decide what a goldfish of no particular age or gender sounds like. And it could have been anything.
oh my God.
And I just happened to hit on a voice that, for whatever reason, they liked. And it was a really fun show to do. I got to sing, and in fact, won an Emmy for that episode where I did a sort of Elton John number and got a daytime Emmy for it, which was... so exciting, and I love Dennis.
So I didn't know that. Can you bring up that goldfish's voice by any chance?
Yeah, I think so. He talked a bit like that. Hello. Oh, let's go have a look at the great big book of everything.
Oh my God.
Come on. What is it, Stanley? The little boy's called Stanley. It was called Stanley. And the little boy was Stanley, and I was his pet goldfish, and we went everywhere together.
So Charlie, the thing I love about you is that you have such a diverse range, that you have played everything from a goldfish to Prince Charles.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just say something about Prince Charles. Okay, so I hadn't seen you for a very long time, and then we all came together because we were going to see Renee's one-woman show in Beverly Hills, and you walk in and you're like missing half your hair. And I'm like, oh my God. Charlie, he's like lost his hair, and his hair was so beautiful. And I didn't wait until the end and didn't say anything, but then you explained that the haircut.
Right. They literally pulled half my hair out to make it thinning. Susan had a complete fit. She was like distraught. And the woman assured me it would grow back, and it did. But again, as an actor, you kind of want to have a physicalization of the character to give you a help. And it helped looking in the mirror and seeing this sort of rather sad head of hair informed the character a bit, this sort of slightly sad character,
So Charlie, it's interesting when you kind of dig in and look at it, and the role that like hair, makeup and wardrobe employs in bringing to life a character, so that you actually inhabit a character rather than indicate a character.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, to get technical, there are these two schools of thought, very base generalization. But one is you work from the inside out. You find the psychological reality of the character, and you kind of do research and you decide where he was born, what trauma he went through as a child, and all that stuff. And then that informs the outside. And the other way, which is much more the English way, is to find the physicality, find the shoes, the way he walks, the way he talks, the clothes he wears, what he looks like, what he sounds like. And you add all that physicality to it, and it then starts informing the character, because the person that wears those clothes and walks that way has that history. That's why he walks the way he does. That's why he wears the clothes he does. So for me, it's always been really useful to find the physicality of a character and the physicality of a moment, even with the clothes they wear, how it makes them hold themselves, the haircut, you know, whether they wear glasses or not, all those little details, the kind of shoes, do they have heels, is it flats, makes a huge difference.
Right, it's all these tiny little details that the general public who are being entertained don't even, I mean, it's not their job to think about it.
It's like we were saying at the very beginning, they don't see how the sausage is made. It's just presented, you know, already there. Yes.
So let me ask you this, Charlie. So Terry would always handle the fittings with you, because I was always in the other room with Lauren and Madeline and everything on a Wednesday when we were doing our fittings. Did you ever push back on any of them?
Oh yeah, there must have been a few, very rarely.
Right.
Very rarely. And if I did, 9 times out of 10, you know, Terry would go, yes, that's fine. I don't remember her ever having to come to you and go, Charlie's refusing to wear this. I mean, I wasn't confident enough in my own style. I just trusted. I knew that if you were suggesting it, it was probably a very good idea.
Right.
So I think there may have been some things that didn't feel right, just were uncomfortable. And maybe when I put it on, it didn't fit right. And immediately Terry would go, oh no, not that. You know, we tried something else. But I was very fortunate that I'm a 40 reg off the rack. I have a shape, my top half anyway. I've got these short legs that always cause problems, but my top half was a 40 reg off the rack. It would always, if I got a 40 reg, it looked good. And still to this day, a 40 reg fits like a glove. Right. So it wasn't too difficult.
Right. I do have, without naming any names, there was a guest star once that threw me under the bus, which no one had ever done that. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Let's get the producers involved. So we were up, and she just threw me under the bus, and it was fine. It was absolutely fine. And
well, you know, everyone knows that, you know, you have to placate the talent, but then once the talent has been placated, you get back to doing what everyone knows is how to do it.
And then I remember one time with Lauren, and I'm going to do a live with Lauren because I'm in communication with her. And I remember she was like, she wanted to change something. She wanted something different. And I'm like, Lauren, I'm not going to tell you have to wear anything. If you're not happy, then I'm not happy.
Right.
So I said, go out, okay, and go and find some clothes that you like and bring them back to me, and we'll incorporate them. And I was like, and so she went out, and she came back 2 days later, and she said, Brenda. I went, yes, Lauren. And she goes, I have a newfound respect for you. And I'm like, why? She goes, because I went shopping and I didn't find anything.
Right.
You know, and to try and, you know, we deliver that show and it looked so beautiful, but finding each of those characters,
I know, it's
incredible. Dialing it in and fine tuning it and having it become iconic.
Right.
Which was my intention, my secret intention back then, but we didn't have social media. It's just it's so wonderful. And each character, like people want me to talk about Cece Babcock because I loved her suits, which was all my 1940s.
I have a question for you, because obviously Todd Oldham became very much a sort of style for Fran. And I would assume, you know, once you'd established Fran as a kind of fashion icon, did designers seek you out and say, can you use this? Can you wear this?
They didn't, Charlie.
I'm surprised, because they should have done.
Well, but I tell you, but back then it was a very different world, and you know how fast those episodes went.
Right.
You know? So when we got a script on a Monday morning, I had to have all the fittings ready to go by Wednesday. So that's meaning 2 days I had to have racks full of clothing for each of the characters. And to get one outfit, we'd have to put on 10.
Right.
To dial one in. So I never had time to deal with and trying to get it for free and all of that stuff. So after our production meeting on a Monday morning, I would zoom into Beverly Hills. And when I saw Todd's suits in Neiman Marcus, when I saw color, shape, the shoulder pads, classy, pushing the envelope, but with a twist because of color, print, and pattern, that was it. And it was like Moschino and Todd. And we did have a relationship with Todd, and Todd did lend us some stuff. And he was definitely an inspiration. But the real inspiration for Fran's character was the Moschino striped vest, which I had from Princesses, where I met Fran, which was been in 1990. And Twiggy had worn it.
Oh, right.
Twiggy had worn, if you look at the ad for Princesses, Twiggy's in the middle wearing that vest. And then that was the inspiration, that and Todd. When I saw the color, the short mini skirts, and we were on a budget at that point. So that's where I created the silhouette solution.
Right.
Okay, which how many years later?
Right.
The book the dressing system for every woman.
Very good. Excellent book.
Yes, thank you.
Very much. I find it fascinating. I mean, I knew nothing about it. I thought it was fascinating to have those 3 go-to silhouettes, and you just, mix and match within that framework. Right.
Yes. Yeah. So, so that was kind of how the character evolved, and each of them, and like Madeline's little party dresses that were so English. Yeah. I found those in a store in Nordstrom, and I walked in, and it's like, I didn't know how to dress her, but I would go out into the marketplace, and that's my paint palette. And I saw that dress. I saw the dress of it. I'm like, done.
But what about Renee? How did you find Renee's things?
Oh my God. Okay, so obviously, again, she's the mother of Fran. Okay, so she had to be an extension. It's like the grandmother, the mother, and Fran. They all had to be a through line, in terms of their look. And I don't remember this, but Renee always tells this story. The first time I met her, I handed her what today is called, for want of better word, Spanx. But I handed her a girdle, and I said, would you put this on? And she went, who would wear that? And I went, you would wear that, Renee. And she grabbed it from me. And then she put it on, and it smoothed everything. And she said, as soon as she put that garment on, she knew who her character was.
Right, there you go. Exactly.
It made her walk in a certain way. It made her talk in a certain way. And it made her move in a certain way.
Right. So
every Friday night, there would be a new one. Okay. And this garment that she hated, every Friday night, it would disappear.
Right.
So she has a wardrobe of, I don't know, hundreds of these girdles. But it was again, it was loud. It was print, but it always had to have a sense of wit. Everything had to have a sense of wit that elevated the comedy.
And you knew who they were. I mean, I'll one of the most iconic moments I'll never forget was the wedding dress, that pink explosion wedding dress that Fran had, and I can't remember what Renee was wearing that day, but it was absolutely hysterical.
Hold on, the bridesmaid. It was a bridesmaid.
The bridesmaid, yes, a bridesmaid. Dress,
so it had to be obnoxious. It had to be over the top. And I found it at Universal in the rental.
Oh.
And then I thought, this is perfect. But then if my memory serves me correctly, I put all those yellow flowers on it.
Right.
I added all that to it. And then I had to do something obnoxious for Renee. So I had my seamstresses make that dress for her. And we were reviewing it the other day. It's like, I wish I hadn't done it in blue. I wish I would have done all the feathers in pink.
Right.
But I always wanted the audience and even the cast to smile when each character walked out. So it was exciting each week to see, how each person would walk out. So it was great. So people are asking, Charlie, about General Hospital.
Oh, yeah. Well, Victor Cassadine, who I play, he again is very elegant. A lot of suits and, tailored look. obviously older, so it's a sort of older man, but a kind of gray, what do they call them, silver fox type.
Right.
Very smooth, very debonair, very man of the world.
Right.
You know, not unlike Maxwell, but just with a steely, dangerous edge. But it's fun because again, he's, you know, he doesn't hang around in jeans and a t-shirt.
Right. Right.
Somebody did ask a good question. Did Mr. Sheffield keep anything from any piece of clothing that was his favorite?
Mr. Sheffield, did you keep
I
any?
did. I think I walked out with a couple of canales.
Oh, good. You know, I always say to people, and I don't say it from an egotistical point of view, I just say, if you're going to work with me, put in your contract to get your wardrobe, because I promise
you're going to want it. I got a few things. I got a couple of canales. There were a few things that I wanted, and Columbia said no, they got to go back to us for, you know, eternity. But I did okay. I got a couple of nice things. I dressed very well for a year or two.
Right. So Charlie, let me tell you, did you okay. Yes, I did choose the icon. This is a question. I did choose the iconic red dress that Fran wore in the pilot. But let me tell you the sad thing, and then we have another question for you, Charlie. And we're at 3:42. Okay. So I was talking with someone, I think this morning. At the end of that show, all that wardrobe that has become so iconic went into stock. It went into stock at Sony.
Right.
So all that your beautiful collection of clothing, Fran's beautiful collection of clothing is just wheeled in like dead animals.
I know it goes into like, it's put on like, you know, third guy from the left in the back of the bar scene, you know.
Right, exactly. And it's all all the blouses are together, everything's broken up, and it's put in with all the other clothes. And then in 2012, Sony got rid of their wardrobe department, and it was all sold off for pennies on the dollar to a place in the valley. So there are people that actually have your wardrobe in their closets, Fran's wardrobe in their closets, and they don't even know it.
No.
And
in retrospect, you know that if they had known, if they had had any kind of sense and kept that collection, the sort of iconic pieces, as the Nanny collection, they'd be making money off it now.
Oh, yes.
They'd be doing exhibitions around the country of the Nanny, you know, in all the museum of fashion around the country, and doing the Nanny collection, and they would be, you know, people would be coming to see it, but you know. But
do you know Charlie, there's Instagram accounts where there are people that literally collect and scour the internet and actually collect Fran's duplicate pieces that they found. And there's a guy in Germany who just did an exhibition in France, and now is taking it to Australia.
There you
gathering
go.
all the pieces. Yeah. So we have a question.
Okay, I just want to mention that there's a lot of people asking if you would talk about Cece. You're going to be doing a live with Cece, so let's save that for when Cece's on.
Yeah. So everyone, first of all, thank you for talking about Cece. We all love Cece, and I'm going to do a live with Cece, and we can talk about Cece's wardrobe. But right now, I'm talking to Charlie.
God bless Lauren, though. Say hi to Lauren when she's on. I'll have to join in. I'll have to watch it. When does it happen?
Oh, please.
I don't know. She's got some stuff going on right now, and we've been going back and forth. Have you spoken to Daniel Davis at all?
Over the years, yes, but not recently. I think he basically is in New York. I think he went off to New York, and that's where he lives. And Lauren, when she came out to LA a couple of years back, we had breakfast. I saw her. Benjamin, I've seen a couple of times back in the day. The girls I've seen, Maddie and Nicole, and Renee, obviously, I've seen a few times. So, we keep in touch.
Right. I talk to Renee all the time. You should look at her TikTok. She's hysterical.
Right.
Go on, question.
So truly, truly, truly outrageous has a good question. What was it like for Charles seeing some of those iconic outfits Fran wore coming down that staircase?
Some of them were pretty yowza. Abba. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, Fran has, you know, an incredible physique body. So she wore those things really well. So it was always interesting to see what she's wearing. And my reactions, you know, as Charlie, were much the same as Maxwell's, you know, a little bit like, wow, and a little bit like, you know, is she really going to go out like that?
Right, oh my God. That's so funny. That's so funny. Let me ask you this question, Charlie. So there were loads of guest stars on the show over the years, and you're an actor, and, you know, we don't really get impressed because you're in the biz, you know.
Right.
But is there any actor that you found yourself like?
Oh, yeah. A few. I mean, they were so, but the one I was most impressed with and struck by was Donald O'Connor. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I am on a set with Donald O'Connor. I could not believe that, even more than Liz Taylor or anyone. I mean, meeting Elton John was very fun because, you know, he was such a huge icon. But I think Donald O'Connor I was most impressed with meeting him.
Right.
And then to have Ray Charles play a ongoing character, that was extraordinary. I mean, we had the most extraordinary guest stars. I mean, it was quite ridiculous looking back on it. Every week, some other, and they were so eclectic, you know, they would be from, you know, Broadway, you know, like Edie Gourmet, you know, those sort of, Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet from the, you know, cabaret scene.
Right. Do you remember Eartha Kitt?
Taylor.
Do you remember Eartha Kitt?
Eartha Kitt.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we'd have people like Roger Clinton.
Oh,
you know?
right. Oh, I remember when Trump walked into my
Donald
office.
Trump.
Oh my God. Yes, 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 I do remember that. I mean, it was just a really amazing time. I mean, I have to say, for me, it was the most creatively exciting. It was my first job as a designer. And it was creatively, it was a great team of people. We all worked really well together. And like Fran says, from the very first pilot, she knew that she had lightning in a bottle.
Right.
And
I think we all did. You know, the problem is, you know, TV there's only so much you can control. Right. And the networks and the studios are playing so many different games. It's not like they're looking for the best show to put on. Sometimes they're looking for a show that is not going to go for too long because they've got a show that they want to put on that's not ready yet. Right. So that you're at the mercy of these games. But we knew right at that pilot that we had something pretty special. And I remember when we saw the credits, the cartoon and the music put together for the first time, it was like, oh, this is going to be a classic. If this goes, I think that's what I was thinking. If this goes for a season, it's going to go for a long time and it's going to become a classic.
Right. And in talking to Fran, you know, saying it's like, it's her genius. And I mean, I never knew that what they wanted her to be was an Italian girl.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, no, they wanted her to be Italian. And they wanted it dressed like, just normal. Right.
Well, I know they were all, you know, extremely nervous about the whole Jewish side of it. You know, it was a Jewish family. I know they were really very anxious about that and very nervous. And Fran had to really insist. And even after we started, and a lot of people were reacting negatively to Renee and saying she was a stereotype, you know, and Fran would say, but, you know, look at my real mom. It's like not that different. You know, this is what there are people like that.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, it was just brilliance. It was just
it was brilliant because it was, and what it did is by setting it in a Jewish family, you immediately involved all that heart. The I guess the derogatory way would be said to call it schmaltz, but it was heartfelt schmaltz. There was that always, every episode you were laughing and then there was a little tear in the eye, something happened or very moving, because it had terrific heart, that show. It was never mean-spirited. It was very funny, and you would, you know, laugh at Renee, but you were also laughing with her. It was never mean-spirited.
She was so brilliant. I mean, I love one of the things that she did when she had no lines in the scene. I mean, talk about a brilliant actress. Do you know the story? She had no lines in the scene. Sitting there eating. She's sitting there eating. And what she did was she took a crumb out of her cleavage and she ate it.
Right.
I mean, just everyone, I mean, everybody truly
Right.
contributed their brilliance from.
But yeah, and those things happen when you are inhabiting the character, again, because of the way you're dressed, because of the way you feel physically, because of the lines you're saying, because of the makeup, because of the hair. You are so inhabiting the character that those moments are completely organic.
Right.
And they come out of being completely comfortable and natural in the character. Because at that moment, it wasn't Renee picking something out of her cleavage. It was Sylvia who wasn't going to let a piece of brownie go to waste.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
Sylvia was going to chase it down as far as she had to get it.
It's just so brilliant. And when you think of Renee's hair, how it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was just completely. I mean, it really was completely brilliant, and I personally feel so grateful that Fran chose me to design it. And she saw talent in me that at the time I didn't know that was there. And she unleashed me and she let me do my thing. Right. And it's just, I mean, it's really fantastic. So Charlie, so people can tune into you. Shameless promotion now. SP, everybody, SP. So people can tune into you on General Hospital.
General Hospital. Yes. It's on at 2:00 in the afternoon Pacific time. You know, I'm not on every day. Right. Usually they have so many characters and so many storylines. You usually pop up, you know, 2 or 3 times a week. But it's great fun. Yeah, you'll enjoy it. I play the sort of bad guy, the sort of head of the bad family. Right. You've gone from Goldfish, hold on, from Goldfish to Prince Charles to a bad guy. I mean, you're very diversified, Charlie. I just love it. And I enjoy it. It's like those opportunities. And you... Okay, so this is my best-selling author that came out. Yes, that came out this year. Came out in February, and you can buy it on Amazon. It's the forward is written by Fran, and it shows you my dressing system that I used on the Nanny for the everyday woman, regardless of your shape, your size, your weight, your budget, or your ethnicity. And we start off in your inner closet of limiting beliefs. We clear that one out. And then we put together an incredible wardrobe. And thank you for reading it, Charlie. I love it. You know, it takes all the anxiety, because, you know, I can imagine knowing, and also knowing Susan, you know, when you're getting ready to go out, it's like, what am I going to eat for dinner? It's like, once you've decided, you can cook it and eat it, it's delicious. But deciding what you're going to wear is a nightmare. And this takes all that anxiety away, because you have like ready-made system. Right. You can then dig into and sort of play with and improvise, but you've got a basic system, which is great. It's brilliant. Right. And
I think you there's one thing that you've gotten a lot of people asking is why you're not reviving this. I don't think that you
the only person that can answer that question is Fran, and Fran, I can't answer that question because that's Fran's question to answer, and she created gold and she wants to leave it at gold, and she's doing other things, and she's FYI, everybody who's on, they're doing a Broadway show. She and Peter have been writing a Broadway show for the last few years, so you'll be able to go and see The Nanny on Broadway. But Fran is very discerning, and it's not for me to answer that question, it's for Fran. Exactly. So I want to say, Charlie, I absolutely adore you. Thank you so much for coming on. Likewise. You're the best of the best, and I love you. Say hi to Susan, and I will see you soon. I'll see you soon. All right, my darling Coop. Take care. Bye. Bye. Bye.